Welcome everyone to the second take. I am your host Jay, and let's just dive right into this one. This is a video that I have waited basically my entire existence to make. I have been watching Friends since I was a little kid, and I was pretending to be sick so I could stay at home and watch Friends on VHS. I wish I was kidding about the VHS thing. It's real. The little subtitle here says, "Now with footage you've never seen." I love that. I love seeing outdated pieces of technology advertising themselves as like the most modern thing with new bonuses. It's amazing. Anyways, let's get back to the reunion show. It seemed like there was a bit that was more like a reunion for the cast themselves. Then there was a bit hosted by James Corden, which was more for the audience. Then there was a bit where the Friends cast were actually like reading off lines as their own characters and like kind of like mix matching old footage into the new footage of them reading their lines now. It's really cool. It was a really cool concept. You know, one of the things that was very interesting about this reunion show was that it wasn't what people expected. I think a lot of people assumed that a reunion show would be like a single hour and a half long episode that would have been like, you know, catching up with the characters and then this big pivotal moment that changes all of their lives so that we all can kind of, you know, get that glimpse back into their lives of, you know, quote unquote season 11 of Friends, and then, you know, have them go back to being themselves and kind of like this check in where the characters are, and then, you know, retire them again. And a huge part of this whole reunion show was actors and creators of the show talking about how any sort of like soft reboot of Friends would just not be a good idea, because you would have to basically deconstruct all of these characters' endings from season 10, reopen their lives, reopen all of these things, throw a bunch of problems in, and try and, you know, seal it back up into a nice tight little package. And I think that the chances of that going 100% perfect and having 100% fan appreciation of the decisions is very, very unlikely. There were just so many cool moments in this reunion show, and as we can see here online on IMDb, it's got an 8.6 out of 10 rating. It's got a Google user rating of 95%. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's 68%. Here's an article that says the Friends reunion felt like attending someone else's high school reunion, which I get. It kind of felt like that. It's fair that they said that, because honestly, I think that a lot of what happened was to kind of like feed the egos a little bit of the six main friends. I think a huge portion of why they did the reunion show was for literally the entire world to get a bit of like closure. Even though the show got taken off 17 years ago off air, it has been constantly in the zeitgeist of pop culture. It is constantly in the back of people's heads. When is the Friends reunion coming out? When is the Friends reunion happening? What are we going to see when we have the Friends reunion? And here we go. We finally got it. And honestly, I don't think it disappointed. I don't. I think that it was very memorable. I think it was very, very much a once-in-a-lifetime event, because, like Courtney Cox says in the actual taping they did, they're not going to do this again in 15 years. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I don't think all six of them are ever going to do another reunion show like this. I think they might do something borderline close to that with like 4 of them or 3 of them, or all the girls or all the guys or something, but they were very adamant that this is not something that's going to happen every 15 years or so. But who knows? Who really knows? Who really knows what is going to happen? And who knows if they're all going to eat their words and come back and do another reunion show when they're in their 60s. Could you imagine? I had a thought, actually. If they were going to do the show as a continuation, I know they're not, but if they ever were going to do a continuation show, I think it would be so cool if they called the show Families instead of Friends. You know what I mean? Because then it could become literally like about each family. You know, Chandler and Monica's twins, then Ross and Rachel have kids, then Phoebe and Mike have kids, and the only person who didn't get an ending, and funnily enough, the ending that he gave himself when asked in the interview process, Matt LeBlanc said that Joey is probably somewhere on Venice Beach owning and operating a sandwich shop, but probably losing a lot of business because he's eating the sandwiches. And that was perfect. That was absolutely perfect. I thought that was one of the funniest jokes made about, potential storylines for any of the characters. So all in all, the night was fantastic. The event was so interestingly curated to not only please the fans, but also clearly stroke the egos of the 6 main actors, because this whole thing was just like this giant celebration of Friends characters, Friends jokes, Friends like props and clothing. There was even a fashion show with Cara Delevingne and Justin Bieber. That was very strange. But one of the biggest takeaways, honestly, one of the biggest takeaways from this entire Friends reunion, Matthew Perry is still the funniest person alive. Genuinely one of the funniest people ever. I think he has in his blood comic timing. I think there were so many moments. Don't know what I'm talking about. You should go rewatch the Friends reunion. And not only that, you should rewatch Friends entirely, because Matthew Perry is a comic genius. Bar none. Nothing else to say about it. Oh, and also, David Schwimmer hated Marcel the monkey. Hated. Like, there's no words that I could describe how David Schwimmer feels about this monkey. He went on like a solid 4.5-minute rant about it. It was genuinely one of the biggest solo sections where one actor is discussing one story in the entire 2-hour special. It is probably the most heated and focused moment, and it is just bizarre because it kind of gives you an insight into David Schwimmer. Because they truly, after all these years, he's still thinking about how much that monkey annoyed him. I just cracked up because it was just too funny. But yeah, some of the funniest moments had to be some of the other characters coming in and doing little surprise cameos. Like the first one was Mr. Heckles. That was brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then Thomas Lennon, that was a good one with Joey's identical hand twin. And then, Smelly Cat. That was so random. That was probably the weirdest part to me, but it was kind of lovely, but also very strange, where you had Lisa Kudrow performing Smelly Cat, and then Lady Gaga and an entire choir, orchestra of sorts, comes out and performs Smelly Cat as if it's this big, humongous piece. And that kind of felt like it was some sort of ploy to connect the Gen Zs into the Friends generation. All in all, I would say that this reunion did not disappoint. I would say that it is probably one of the funniest things that you'll get the opportunity to see that is a new release. And I think it's genuinely going to please a lot of fans around the world. And I think that it's going to make a lot of people who have had this kind of void of seriously powerful comedic connection between cast members in a TV show. You so rarely have that. You get glimpses of it with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Office, Parks and Recreation. You really, really see it in Friends, though. Every single character is exactly balanced with the other characters. It's not the Ross and Rachel show. It's not the Courtney Cox show. It's not the Matthew Perry show. It's Friends. And every single episode, every single actor in that show gives their 100%, and 100% of the time, it is hilarious. There is, as far as I'm concerned, not a bad episode of Friends. Not a single unfunny episode. And I think that's part of the brilliance of the show, is that you don't have to be a fan of the show or even a follower of the show to understand plot lines, friendly relationships, connections. You don't really have to know the show to enjoy the show. And I think that's the best part about the show. And I think that's partly why Seinfeld did so brilliantly, because he pitched it as, it's a show about nothing. It's a show about people hanging out, talking about not much at all. And that's what Friends is. It's that time of your life when your friends are your family and nothing is going on, yet everything is going on. And the perfect example of this is the episode that they just spend the whole time throwing around a ball. That's like a huge plot point in one of the episodes, is that Joey and Ross are throwing back the ball, then Chandler gets involved, and then it's like this whole... Anyways, I loved the Friends reunion show. Sorry, I loved Friends the reunion show. It's a weird placement of the in that. For me, at least, I want to call it the Friends reunion show, not Friends the reunion show. It's weird to me. But anyways, I personally think it was a solid 9 out of 10. There was very little wrong with this, besides my own personal qualm, which is that I wanted to see all of the actors reprise their roles as older versions of their own characters and do kind of like a wrap up. You know, I thought it would have been kind of cool to have some of the characters come back and they do a little 1 or 2 episode, 3 episode little story arc where we kind of check in, see where everyone is, and then we leave them again and check in a decade or 2 from now. I don't know. I just personally, I love reunions of this kind. I love all of the sequels and reboots and everything that they make. I'm all for expanding some of these properties as long as you can kind of stretch them out, because I was astounded by one of the facts that James Corden said while introducing the cast. He said something along the lines of, Friends has been translated and viewed in over 200 territories, meaning over 180 countries and then some territories. And then on top of that, Friends has been viewed over 100 billion times. Try to just picture that. Try to just honestly visualize how humongous that really is. It's translated into dozens of different languages. There are people around this world that have learned English with a New York accent because they learned it from Friends. That is something so fascinating. And I don't think there are many TV shows, if any other TV shows, that have specifically had this kind of impact on the world. And I think that's one of the best things about Friends, and I think it's one of the best things about why this reunion show worked so well, was that it was a fan pleaser, but it was also a Friends pleaser. It was also for them, because this is a group of people that have had their lives completely drastically changed since the premiere and this initial spike of fame that came from Friends. And honestly, I think that that's why this deserves a 9 out of 10, because I think that it really, truly was what needed to happen for a Friends reunion. I have my own personal bias. I would have preferred they do kind of a solo show, you know, a catch-up episode or something along those lines, but if we couldn't get that, and in all honesty, I agree with the creators of the show that maybe that would have tarnished the reputation of the show, maybe that would have tarnished people's input, maybe that would have just destroyed people's interest. Maybe having some sort of, you know, sequel 20 years late would have actually just bothered people. Maybe it would have come off kind of sad and like they were trying to, like, you know, milk this thing for as long as possible, because that's what happens. And then usually the sequel or the follow-up or whatever it is, it's never as good and it falls short. So I think that they did an amazing job. I think that it was just so much fun. It was so entertaining and genuinely really fun to hear some of the behind the scenes stories. So I think all in all, I think that this couldn't have turned out any better. The only thing that I wanted to see that I didn't see was an appearance from Paul Rudd and Cole Sprouse, which would have been funny. But obviously those two, their careers are so far beyond what they were when they guest starred on Friends. I think that Paul Rudd is probably filming Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, so he's probably busy, and I don't know about Cole Sprouse, but there were so many cool little cameos that came out of this Friends reunion, and there were so many cool little, you know, times where a character was referenced or like a specific scene from one of the earlier episodes, and it really just brought me back. It brought me back to my childhood. It brought me back to the times where TV shows were just so much fun, and they weren't like these huge operations that looked so polished, and although Friends was polished and it was very hard to make, clearly there's even a point where David Schwimmer goes into explaining that the cameras that they used, they had about 4 or 5 cameras spread across, and they would have 3 or 4 operators on each camera having to do different movements, and they all worked in a choreographically perfect flow to produce the show. And I think that that is something that definitely is different nowadays, is they don't do a lot of live audience filming, not just because of COVID, but because of budgetary reasons. It's so much easier, and you have so much more control when you do it in a locked set. You don't have audience members disrupting or making things more difficult or whatever it may be. And I think that it truly has a different feel, because whether you realized it or not, when you watch Friends, you don't hear the laugh track and think, oh, it's my time to laugh. You're laughing as hard as you can while the show is going on. You almost feel like you're in that live audience watching them. Whereas other TV shows, the laugh track can almost pull you out of it entirely. That's a huge reason why I couldn't get into The Big Bang Theory, was because it was like all these times where they would cut a joke and then it would be like, okay, now is your time to laugh. And they would play the audio track of people laughing, and it would really, really bother me and take me out of it. I couldn't enjoy it. And anyways, getting back to the Friends reunion, honestly, I am so happy about how this turned out, and I can't wait to hear what all of you think, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you did, please let me know what exactly you enjoyed, what you didn't. Maybe some of the stories were too much, some of the behind the scenes stuff was just a little too on the nose. What did you guys think? Were you guys at all surprised or shocked that David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston actually had a almost relationship? I think everybody knew that. I think everybody could put 2 and 2 together, that on-screen kiss, that first time that Ross and Rachel kissed, that there was true love in that kiss. And I think that's why that show just really skyrocketed after that kiss, was because everyone on the planet that was watching that could see it. I'm getting goosebumps. Literally, my hair is sticking up because of this. They could see that was real. That was a man and a woman that have been waiting to embrace each other and haven't been able to. And this show, oh my God, this show has created so many other events in human history. Like, Friends is this huge rock that starts a tidal wave in the industry in terms of how TV shows are filmed, how people decide what characters they want. Hell, the dynamic of having 6 or more main characters is from Friends. You know, you would never have a show like The Office or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Recreation, The Mindy Project, any of these shows without Friends. You just wouldn't, because at that time, TV shows were focused on 1 or 2 people, or a couple, or a family with patriarch at the top. So you had a main character, and all of the other people were that person's friends. Whereas this isn't the case, and it's changed the situation entirely. And I think that's one of the coolest things about Friends, is the cultural and international impact it has had on just everyone. I don't think there are many people at all that don't know what the TV show Friends is. I don't. I think it is genuinely one of the most rewatched, rewatchable, and re-enjoyable TV shows ever made. I could go pick a random episode and I would be crying myself laughing because it is just that genuinely heartfelt and funny. And I think that's one of the best things about the show. And one of the best things about the reunion show was that these actors, even though they've all gone their own separate ways and they all have had careers of their own, these actors seriously, seriously look at each other like they're family. And you can see it in the recording. You can see it in the reaction they have when the other people are talking or the other people are telling stories. You can see the way they're watching each other. This is a group of people that they're going to be connected their entire lives. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from the Friends reunion show, genuinely, one of the biggest takeaways is that Matthew Perry is still the funniest person alive. Got some positivity to him, clearly, which was so nice and refreshing to hear little comments from him where he was saying something like, just like, you can tell how much of a changed person he is and how much that reunion really meant to him. There was a moment where him and Matt LeBlanc are sitting in the couch chairs that they've got in their apartment, and you can hear him say, "It's so great to see you again, Maddie." And it's just like, I loved it. I loved the reunion special so much. I loved seeing all of these actors get back together. I loved having this blend of interviews and cast moments and bloopers and, behind the scenes stories and behind the scenes relationships, stuff that we didn't know about. I found it all fascinating and I loved every minute of it. And I think that it was just such a worthwhile experience, even though, like I've said several times, that I didn't get the soft reboot that I was hoping, where we got a glimpse into what their lives would be like now. But all of the actors kind of answered that when James Corden asked, and I think that's probably what it would have been. It would have been probably just a little, I think it would have been a little on the nose. So it's probably better that they did the reunion show the way they did. I really, really loved it. I thought that this reunion show was a solid 9 out of 10. There isn't much I would change at all. I really wanted to see Paul Rudd, but that's okay. I'm sure he's busy doing things. I really wanted to see James Michael Tyler in person, guy who played Gunther, but that was cool that they had him Zoom call in, but I really wanted him to be in person because he was the unofficial member of the group. Like, he was the seventh friend, right? Oh my god. When Maggie Wheeler showed up and did the Janice laugh, I almost cried myself. That was so good. One of the biggest things that I'm going to take away from it is that all of these people, even after all that fame, all of that success, all of everything they've experienced, all of them, you could see it. They were still self-conscious about their roles in Friends and their acting and the performances they did and everything. So I guess the meaning of that is that don't take yourself too seriously, because one day you're going to be doing something and then another day you're not. And life is going to throw you curveballs. I think one of the funniest parts, before I finish this, one of the funniest parts that you found out was that not only was Jennifer Aniston on a different TV show at the time, and probably wouldn't be able to do Friends unless she quit one of them, but so was Matthew Perry. Chandler Bing was in a TV show called LAX 2194. I think that's what it was. And it was basically, he was a luggage handler for an alien intergalactic airport. I'm so glad he made Friends. Like, that sounds so weird, but it sounds like... Weirdly enough, it sounds like something Chandler would actually end up doing, or like some stupid TV show that Joey would try to do or something. But anyways, so that was kind of cool. But so I guess where I want to end with that is that I think everyone should try their hardest to find the moments of joy in life. Try your hardest to find moments where you're just laughing about nothing and everything at the same time, and try your best to find some good friends that will get you along in this life, because that truly is the meaning behind the show, is that there's a portion of everyone's life where the closest people to you are people you're not related to, apart from Monica and Ross. But that is the true meaning, that sometimes your friends are your family, and they can have more of an impact on you than the people that raised you. And that is huge. So, whatever you do, don't watch the Joey spinoff show. No, I'm kidding. I don't think a lot of people know about it. I don't think a lot of people know that Joey Tribbiani had his own TV show for 2 years after Friends ended. He had 2 seasons. I don't think people know enough about that. But it's kind of like it's not really canon to the rest of the Friends stuff as far as the other Friends actors are concerned, I think. Because, I don't know if any of them, none of them ever did a cameo on the show. So it almost felt like that TV show was Joey's way of saying that this was the way his life was going to go. And I think that would have been such a cool show to take off and turn into something like, the way that Cheers created Frasier. And I more people know about Frasier than Cheers, but that's not the case with this. Not more people were going to know about Joey than know about Friends. But anyways, all in all, I highly recommend you watch the Friends reunion show, or the one where they all get back together. I highly recommend that you watch some of the older episodes as well. And I think more than anything, you guys should just try your hardest to go and be yourself. Truly, don't worry about what other people think. Don't let other people's input or their insecurities or anxieties mess with your confidence, because I think that was a huge part of the show that they were trying to teach us. If you're Phoebe, be the weird one. If you're Ross, be the dinosaur one. If you are Joey, be the acting one. And if you are Chandler Bing, no one will remember your profession. And that is literally true, because in the Friends reunion, they had Tom Selleck come on and say, what was Chandler's job? Actually, they never said he had a job. Lie. Chandler's job was data reconfiguration and statistical factoring. I knew that was true, and the only mistake they made in the entire Friends reunion was that. So, that's where my 2 cents are. I loved it. Like I said, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to watching it again at some point. I hope that you guys could enjoy it as much as I did, and I hope that you guys all had a positive experience about it like I did. But let me know if you guys thought that there was something missing, something you wanted to add into it, something that was, necessary that we didn't get. Post a comment below and let me know. And as always, guys, thank you for watching. Were you a fan of Friends when you were a kid as well? Did you also watch Friends on VHS like I did when you were young? Post a comment below and let me know. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out the channel if you want to see more content, more reviews. But more than anything, just stay safe. Take care.